What's up, YouTube family? Coming at you today from The Rack, my home gym here in Robertsdale, Alabama. Wanted to talk to you guys today about bulking, more specifically clean bulk versus dirty bulk. I'm sure you've heard these terms all the time, and I get people asking me all the time, you know, how to put on weight, you know, what should I eat, you know, how do I get the meals in? And so what comes up a lot is like cheat meals, dirty bulk, clean bulk. What's the difference? Does it really make a difference? You know, so some of the things you want to keep in mind is that in order to maintain or build lean muscle mass, you want to get at least 0.8 to 1 gram per pound of lean body weight. So if you weigh 200 pounds, you want to get 160 to 200 grams of protein a day minimum. So that's the most important macro as far as like in order to continue putting on the proper mass. Irregardless of how much fat you put on or don't put on, if you are getting that protein, you're going to at least maintain, if not grow, new muscle mass. All right, so then people are like, you know, what about carbs? What about fats? You know, what about, you know, clean bulking, dirty bulking, all that kind of stuff. So, well, what you eat is your fuel, and that fuel is gonna fuel the way you feel, the way you process, how your workouts go, your intensity, everything like that. So for me, carbs are not the enemy. You know, I love carbs. Carbs fuel workouts. You know, the 3 macronutrients each naturally do. Your body can process them and store them in other ways, but it naturally wants to take protein and build muscle. It wants to take carbs and burn that for fuel. And it wants to take fat and put that in as fat. So there's nothing wrong with having some healthy fats in your bulk. You know, when you're bulking, you're gonna be in a surplus. You know, that's in order for you to gain weight, you have to be in a surplus. It's just that simple. So any surplus will help you gain weight. But if you're eating in a clean bulk, you know, you're gonna feel better, you're gonna fuel better, your workouts are gonna be better. You want to have optimal digestion, minimal bloating, you know, all of these things. So for me, I pay attention to, you know, what my body digests well, digests efficiently, you know, pushes in and fuels me well, makes me feel good during my workouts, et cetera, et cetera. So I try to eat at least the minimum amount of protein, if not a little bit more, and then eat as much carbs as I possibly can. I'm not talking about no fat, but I'm not trying to emphasize the fat. And not only that, there's nothing wrong with eating some processed food every once in a while. There's nothing wrong with having a slice of pizza or some sushi or what have you. But, you know, if you're trying to do a lean bulk and not just put on a ton of body fat, you want to make sure that you're in the proper calorie surplus. It is hard to pin down all right, so if you look up on an app, Papa John's Pizza, for example, I'm just throwing out an example, you know, with pepperoni and sausage, it'll tell you how many calories there is per slice on average. Is the slice bigger than normal? Is it smaller than normal? Did the guy put extra, you know, cheese on it? Is it a little bit greasier than normal? Does it have extra sausage and pepperoni? So if it says that it's 300 calories a slice, let's say they laid on there heavy, you know? They laid on the toppings heavier, and it's, you know, 150 calories more than that, and then you're eating 4 slices. You've just went over, you were already in a surplus, and then you just went over another 600 calories because you were eating something that you didn't prepare yourself. Not only that, there's a lot of, people consider that a high carb item. It has quite a bit of carbs, but it has quite a bit of fat. The cheese has fat, the meats have fat, the dough has fat, there's oil in it. What I'm saying is that if you want to control your diet, the more food that you prepare with your own hands on your own, the more in control that you weigh and that you measure, the more in control of your surplus that you're gonna be. So you want to be in control of the amount of calories that you're taking in. For me, when I'm bulking, I like to be in a 500 calorie a day surplus. 500 calorie a day equates to a pound a week. That means across a 20-week bulk, I put on 20 pounds, you know, give or take. So the more food that I prep myself, the more in control of these items that are. Then also, when I'm eating clean food, you know, less processed food that's not coming from a, you know, near as much from a bag or from a box or, you know, full of preservatives and all these other things, it just feels better. Nice, clean white rice that I cooked myself, you know, nice baked potatoes that I cooked myself, clean, lean, you know, chicken, pork, beef, whatever it may be, you know, actually cooked and prepared myself without all the preservatives, without all the extras. You know, this just makes me feel better. It fuels me better. I'm not as bloated. I'm not, you know, retaining this stuff in my GI tract. It is getting into my body, digesting, turning into what it needs to turn into. You know, the proteins turning into muscle, the carbs being burned as fuel, and then hopefully, if I'm not too far in a surplus, only a minimal amount being stored as fat. So there's nothing wrong with dirty bulking. There's nothing wrong with having a cheat meal every now and then, but the cleaner your food, the better you feel. The cleaner your food and the more you prep it yourself, the more in control and the more consistency and the more accurately you're gonna be on top of your caloric surplus. Because after all, if you think you're in a 500 calorie a day surplus and you're really in a 1,000 calorie a day surplus, that's instead of 1 pound a week, you're 2 pounds a week. Instead of gaining 20 pounds, you're gonna gain 40 pounds. And believe you me, that's not gonna be all muscle, you know? If it's even half muscle, you're doing really, really well. If you're even in the quarter to a third of muscle, you know, you put on 20 pounds and 5 of it's muscle, you did fantastic. You know, if you're maybe a newbie, you're getting newbie gains, something like that, and you maybe could gain even 10 pounds of muscle, off the charts, unbelievable. But the fact is when you're putting on the muscle, you're gonna gain some fat. And you want to control that amount of fat because eventually, if your goal is to get bigger and more jacked, AKA, you know, bigger, leaner, more muscular, then eventually after you bulk, you're gonna want to peel the fat back off and see what your gains look like underneath. You know, people ask me all the time, they're like, you know, how do I get a 6-pack? I'm like, you already have a 6-pack. You just gotta peel the fat off, you know? So the fact is, you know, a lot of us have a great physique underneath. We're just never peeling the fat back off to take a look at it. So for those of us that are muscle gaining and then fat loss phases, you know, you want to minimize the amount of work you're going to have to do to pull that fat back off. Because if you put on too much fat, you could wind up burning a bunch of the muscle up in your fat loss phase because, you know, you put on 30, 40, 50 pounds of fat when that was not necessary. So try a clean bulk. Try keeping things more controlled. You know, as you gain experience and time, you know, you'll get to where you can, you know, add in a meal or make adjustments for it and enjoy some of the other foods more easily without it being detrimental to your program. You know, putting these meals away from your workouts, putting them just every once in a while, not doing them at too regular of an interval so that, you know, it's a reward for your hard work, you know, because then you'll start seeking that, you know, that reward seeking, and you'll end up thinking you deserve a reward every single workout. Next thing you know, you're putting on a bunch of body fat. So anyway, if you like this video, like the video, hit the subscribe button, click the notification bell so you won't miss any future videos. And just remember, you can't outbeast the monster. Love you guys. See you soon.